Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. This video is going to be short, and I'm going to do a very good job, even if it takes me several days to make it. This video is about intelligence. I made it in response to a certain Asian lady named Lindy Liu's argument about not getting to Harvard. It's about why the morally precise martyr is greater than the Harvard valedictorian. And before I even really get into what it means to go to Harvard and what it doesn't mean, you should see that I'm right. So let's get into this. Point number one, let's talk about evolution. As anyone who makes an argument or a claim that they are smarter than others is also making arguments with implications on evolution. So if you were going to argue that the brain of, say, Andre the Giant, the wrestler back in the day, is magically better than everyone else's, you're arguing that he evolved better over time and it landed that way, one way or another, right? And so if we're talking about a group of people, whites, Asians, Jews, blacks, whatever, if you're going to say, hey, they tend to be the smartest race or a group of them, it has implications on evolution, and that's very important. And you'll see how this proves my point to a T. So no path should lead to, well, Andre the Giant is magically more, evolved or has a superior evolutionary process than other people. And so it is with a nerd. If you look up the nerd in the dictionary, okay, and the dictionary is there for people who are nerds and people who are scholars and everyone else to understand things, right? So if you point to the nerd, you're pointing to the dictionary to some degree too, right? It says that a nerd is boringly studious, is foolish and contemptible, and some dictionaries will say that a nerd is worthless. So how can somebody who's defined as worthless by people from their group use mainstream stereotypes and mainstream conceptions to argue that the nerd is magically smarter? It does not add up at all. And once that argument fails, the vast majority of academics, the vast majority of so-called scholars and inventors, they immediately fail to have the superior brain that allows for someone to be smarter or wiser, because it's a sum total idea. If you're smart, you're not just book smart or street smart or a brilliant, scientist or a brilliant artist. You're someone who's smart specifically in regards to life. Because what is a Harvard degree if you don't have a moral life, a wise life, a profoundly meaningful life? Point number two. So let's make a story out of this. There was once 5 primitive people, and they were going to spread out around the world. They're going to spread their genes around the world. The first said they want to be a gardener, as gardens are very pretty, and the one who gardens the best in their mind is supposedly the smartest of all mankind. That was their argument. They thought that if you garden the best, that would magically make you the smartest of all mankind. The second said they wanted to study different stones and different kinds of food, as they said that understanding nature in a basic way, while memorizing the details, okay, that they learn along the way, is magically the best way to be smart. And whoever does that the best is the smartest and wisest of all. I say magically so they don't take me out of context. So again, the first one made the argument that the gardens to them was being a gardener was the superior path to them. The second one was arguing that studying stones and food. So now the third one. The third said, well, both those things are very basic, and the point of life is far greater than merely the beautiful presentation of a garden and mere science, and they considered their ways carefully. The fourth saw that the third was the wisest of all, and sought to trick everyone, and they blurted out that anyone who goes through a system of language, science, art, math, basic physical education, and history, etc., in a way that reflects the highest profane mastery of the system that they made for people who think like them, mind you, was magically the smartest and the best. They felt really defeated inside, and their minds started to rot. Finally, the fifth one spoke. and said that he sought to beat up people, right? He sought to beat people up and use brute force, as he argued that whoever can beat everyone else up and force them to do things their way was magically the wisest of all. The third spoke again and said, "I have figured it out. I will be the top martial artist, as martial arts are life paths. And those other paths miss the point of life. The point of life. Again, the point of life. It is existential intelligence that makes one wise, and it is proven by understanding the source of universal pinpointed moral precision, as morals are greater than mere worldly knowledge and being able to take over the planet using force." He went on to say, even insects can take over the planet to a large degree, but their lives are meaningless. Who is beautiful like the top martial artist ever possible, conveying focused moral intensity from the source, which is universal, pinpointed moral precision? Even the sun testifies that he is the greatest. The others all got together and coded this truth into the Abrahamic faiths, while most of their descendants pretended to be loyal to God, and they split the worldly pie, like idiots. So they split this kind of profane pie, money, women, empty relationships, land without the spirit of righteousness. They split it amongst themselves like idiots. As their offspring died, an angel said to them, "You often group together by race like beasts, and in your short lives you sought to impress complete idiots and indulge in meaningless things like beasts. Why were you dumb enough to cheat the most righteous person that ever lived? He is now come and gone, and countless generations were led astray by their ancestors, who even a child could tell you were evil and stupid. Now, after you wasted your lives missing out on meaningful lives, right? So now, after you wasted your lives, having missed out on meaningful lives, you will live in eternal disgrace and punishment. And you've passed your failed spirits on to your offspring." The angel felt indignant and continued by saying, "Even someone who is agnostic knows that you are mere worms playing a game. What the hell is wrong with you?" Christ came in the same spirit of righteous indignation as the angel was in. Right? Christ came in the same spirit as the angel, which is a spirit of righteous indignation. And he sent them off to hell. That story right there is point number 2. Point number 3 is the ancient Egyptians said the heart was the seat of intelligence. Because if you don't have the courage and the love for principle to the point to do what is wise, and what is wise is what is moral and wise, and that story shows that, then you're not that smart. Because if something is preventing you from doing something that's smart, it's keeping you from being smart. Now, if you were smart before and they sabotage you, that's different. Who you are is smart, and you traveled the wise path, and then you got sabotaged. But if you lack courage, naturally, right? If you don't cultivate, if you don't destroy the spirit of cowardice and become courageous, morally courageous, then it prevents you from doing the wise thing. And then how smart can you be? And nerds are not known for being courageous. That's why they said the heart was the seat of intelligence. As they looked around at the different people cultivating their different paths, right? People following Sekhmet and Num and Sobek and Set and Horus and Osiris and Ra and so on and so forth. Different paths, different ways of thinking, different ideas that were associated with animals, different spirits. They said those who aren't morally courageous, like Horus, who's the archetype of the ideal man, of the wisest person, they're only so smart. That's why Horus is the archetype of Pharaoh, not taught. Even though he was a deity of being book smart and things of that nature. So my last point is, without being moral, one cannot be smart. The Bible says the fear of the Lord, who obviously is the source of universal pinpoint and moral precision, is the beginning of wisdom. But fools despise knowledge and correction. They despise sense and insight. Fools despise good judgment. By their actions, they are hating good judgment. And they're trying to justify their folly and their bad judgment and try to make it seem like it's smart or acceptable. And some of them, sometimes, they see their shortcomings past a certain point. They basically all see it to some degree. And they become like just somebody who's completely broken. That's why in hell you see it depicted as you have these evil demons who think they're doing something smart or something worthwhile. And you have these broken people who are saying, why? Those are the types of people who are in hell. Okay, so I didn't make this video to insult people's ancestors, per se. But I am going to say that anyone who follows in their ancestors' footsteps, when it comes to cheating me, is testifying by their actions that their ancestors are fools. And actions speak louder than words.